everyone. Good morning. Oh, well, good evening. I think I'm still at the start of my day. But happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you've had a good weekend so far. A warm welcome for everyone joining us this evening. This is our monthly talk at Brahma Kumari's Upton Park Center. It's always a joy to have these sessions once a month because it just feels like an hour that we take out every month to just reflect, recharge, and discover new ways to bring more peace and positivity into our lives. So today we're going to talk about something that is very interesting and essentially relevant to all of us, which is making time my friend. Time is an integral part of all of our lives, and we sometimes might feel that we don't ever have enough of it. So, what is that relationship that we share with time? Do we experience it as a trusted companion? Do we feel like it's a constant struggle to hold time to ourselves? Does it feel like a good friendship that you have with time, or does it feel like, you struggle with it a little here and there? But like everything, it builds with respect and appreciation. So this is just a chance to reconcile all our thoughts about time and what our relationship with it is. And how can we nurture this friendship that we have with time for a smoother journey through our lives? To guide us in this reflection, we are very, very happy to welcome Rachel to this talk. She is going to share her lovely insights on time and how it affects all of us. Before we give the mic over to Rachel, I'm just going to introduce you very quickly. Rachel's career has been wonderfully diverse, spanning librarianship, urban regeneration, PR, marketing, events, and arts management, which is a lot of things. And then it goes on to say even more in between. I couldn't possibly imagine what else you could have done in your time, but I am just going to keep reading. She now dedicates her time to voluntary service with the Brahma Kumaris at Global Cooperation House in London, and she supports media and communications work there. So I welcome you to this talk. We are very, very happy to have you here. Just before I hand over the mic to you, a quick note to the audience, please stick around to the end. We will have some time for a Q&A. If you are shy and you don't want to unmute yourselves, please put your questions in the chat and I can read them on your behalf. You can post them throughout the talk so that you don't lose track of what you want to ask. And then at the end, we will just have a quick meditation and further announcements on what we will be up to over the next few weeks. Thank you so much, Rachel. I am so
Great.
excited for this. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Garvey. And it's lovely to be with you all. I love going to Upton Park. I'm not there in person, but at least I'm with you subtly. So it's very nice to be invited to join you. And I didn't know when I was asked to choose this topic or to choose a topic, I didn't know that this would be so well timely because we all had our clocks go forward this morning. So did you feel you lost an hour? And I think I chose it really because, to be totally selfish, I need to think about this more. I have had an interesting relationship with time, and I would like it to be smoother and more friendly and more companionable. And so I thought, okay, let me talk about it, and then I have to really think about it and then do what I say. And I remember as a child, I was brought up in Yorkshire, in a little village in Yorkshire, and I remember my mum used to bring me down to London occasionally. Sometimes we would just come in the day and go back on the train. And I used to think people in London were mad because they walked so fast and they talked so fast. And then I came to live in London, and my walking and talking became quite fast. And I love the image that you use to promote this talk. Most of you, I think, will have seen it. And this person kind of like just being chased by everything. And that's what I'd like to explore today is, how do we step back by either being chased by time or chasing time into having a much more easy relationship and a more comfortable attitude with time. Somebody once said, Rachel, time is like a little dog yapping at your ankles. And it certainly does feel like that sometimes. But what's going on? What is it that makes it like that? And, I was thinking about, what is time actually? we we use the word so much. I would think it's pretty high up on the usage list of words we use constantly. We're always thinking about time. Do I have enough? Or da, 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 I'll see you another time, or whatever. Well, what is time? Because actually, it's not an entity. It's not a commodity, but it's in a way, it's the space between this happening or this starting and this finishing or this happening and this happening. So it's not actually, you can't quantify it, but yet it's something that we're very aware of. And we have this understanding of time that it's something that I need to manage, I need to save, I need to find. And these are all kind of slightly controlling attitudes toward time. But what if I could just align myself with time? And, just like a friend, you know, be in sync with time, understand time, enjoy myself with time. So I'd like to explore some of those ideas with you today, and how a spiritual understanding and the practice of meditation can allow me to have a much wider perspective on time, and kind of reduce those stress levels, or reduce the tyranny of those deadlines or the to-do list. And yes, of course we will always have deadlines and to-dos and emergencies and things that have to be done. But how can I accommodate those in my life and achieve those without, minus the stress, minus the anxiety, minus that feeling of antagonism? It's like there's a battle going on between myself and time. Because I think quite often we do see time, like as Garvey was saying at the beginning, you do see it as a bit of an adversary. It's like if not my enemy, then my opponent. And I'm battling with time constantly. But actually, what is it that I'm battling with? And it may not be, it may be just what I'm battling with is the extensive thoughts, or the repeated thoughts that I have in my mind, and the feelings that I have in my mind about what's going on. This week, we've actually celebrated the 5th year of the passing of Daddy Janki, whom some of you may have known. She was the head of this organization for over 40, well, for many, many years, but she was in London for over 40 years. And she passed away at the age of 104, and she was still traveling at the end of her 103rd year. So I'm always reminded of her when I think about time, and I think about being a friend of time, because that's exactly what she was, in that she recognized that it's not about controlling time, but it is about making friends with time. And when she was asked, aged 103, how come you have so much energy? How come you do so much? And she would say, I've made a point of never wasting my time. And if you think about it, with a friendship, you value your friendship. You value your friend, you value their qualities, you respect them. And so having a friendship with time is not wasting it, is not taking it for granted. And I think we've all had lessons in our lives when things that we've had are then taken away from us. And that pandemic period was a big lesson for all of us. So many things we took for granted. And then we realized, how valuable they were. But similarly with our time, how valuable each and every moment is, how valuable each week, each month, each year is. But to what extent am I actually using my time in a way that's helping me and that's beneficial and that's making me happy? I remember years ago, maybe it was when time management, the concept of time management, was just kind of coming into vogue. It must have been about 30 years ago or something. And I remember seeing a program on the BBC, and someone had gone into all sorts of different methods for how to manage your time better. And it was lovely because right at the end of it, the commentator ended by saying, it's not about managing your time, it's about enjoying it. And so what if I made a decision, a promise to myself, I'm going to enjoy my time. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to have a phrase, and it still sometimes comes up because old phrases have a habit of lodging there. I used to have a phrase of, I want to get this done. Have you ever said that to yourself? I want to get this done. Getting something done. So, where's the enjoyment in that? All I want is to tick something off so that then I can move on to something else. But what if, whatever it is, however ordinary it is, whether it's chopping carrots or cleaning the car or, whatever, what if I put some effort to just being present, putting some putting some love into it, putting some interest into it, putting some appreciation into it? What a different experience it is. And how different my feelings would be around that. If it's just, I have to get this done, why am I having to do this again? It's always me. But no, it's like, okay, this needs to be done. So it's like I bring my full self, I'm fully present in whatever I'm doing. Then things slow down. Quite often, though, when I'm chopping my carrots or I'm cleaning the car or whatever I'm doing, my thoughts are racing somewhere else. They're either racing what happened, what they said, what didn't happen, whether it's yesterday or 10 or 20 years ago, or they're thinking about what might happen or what should happen or what I want to happen in the future. And these thoughts, both types of thoughts, are usually very fast thoughts because they're based on a sense of insecurity or a sense of discomfort or unease. And when I'm uneasy, I become faster and faster and faster. But when I'm present, and you can think of times when you're just really enjoying yourself. Perhaps you're in a beautiful place in nature. Perhaps you're with someone who you're just really happy to be with and you just really enjoy and benefit from their company. You're doing something that's really of interest to you and you're fascinated. You're really concentrated. Then the thoughts slow down and the focus comes, the clarity comes, and there's a sense of contentment and quiet inside. And that's, I think, that feeling is what we all want all the time, or as much of the time as we have. But we live in a world just like that image at the beginning of this program, with that person running against time and all these gadgets and things that need my time. And I'm actually, another thing that came out of this program is I've just remembered it now, is somebody said, was saying the more toys you have, the less time you have to play with them. So simplifying life is a way to actually have more time with it, whatever I do have or whatever I do want to do. And so, what is it that makes us battle with time? So, yes, it's that attitude that it's an adversary, or even actually it's a commodity. I have time, I own that time, time is mine. But actually, time isn't mine. And I'm reminded, I was thinking this morning when we had the clocks going forward, that there's, and it's a fact actually, in the 18th century, they changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, which was, a different way of marking time, of marking years and months and days. And as a result of this, 11 days were just disappeared. And there was actually a procession, a demonstration that went down to London to Parliament to say, give us back our 11 days. But the days hadn't actually gone, but that concept that I have lost 11 days, just like we may have felt this morning, I lost an hour, but it's just a measurement. And so it's not a commodity. And it's not for me. And I think sometimes what happens is I take a snapshot of how I think things should be. And then I'm upset and cross when it doesn't turn out like that. But it was just me that took that snapshot. It wasn't anything else than that. And I think sometimes we have unrealistic expectations of time, which actually bring us down, that make us unhappy. I mentioned that I used to live in Yorkshire, and for many, many years, about 20 years, I used to go every month to visit my parents. And it would take about, from London, on a good day, it would take about 4 hours, but it could often take more than that. But I always had it in my mind that it was going to take 3.5 or 4 hours. And then it was only very much later on that I realized it's much better to expect it to be 5 and 6 and be really happy when it's 4. So there are just ways that you can kind of manage your expectations of time so that they allow for other things to happen. Because my expectation is that everything's going to go the way I would like it to. But actually, everybody's thinking the same thing. And we're all on the motorway, or we're all doing wanting something different from time. So, of course, it will be a mixture of whatever's going on. And just that understanding that it's not just my plan, there's a bigger plan that I have to be aware of. And more, when I recognize also another thing is that sometimes things don't happen as quickly as I would like. I have an idea, or I state a desire or a wish, or I agree something with someone, and for whatever reason, it doesn't happen when I think it should. But so often, you may have observed this, that it happened later for a good reason. And this understanding that time can actually be, yes, it can be my teacher, but it can also be a kind of a benevolent teacher. It can teach me something that I need to know that I just wasn't aware of. Because of course we only see what we see. But so often things happen not when we wanted them to, and we can get a bit aggrieved by that or complaining about that. But what if I said to myself, perhaps there's a reason for this. I don't see it now, but maybe I just need to be patient. Maybe I have to wait until people understand it better, or the situation is right, or the conditions are right. And in that way, again, I can reduce that tension and reduce that annoyance with time, which is really just an unrealistic expectation. And something I personally have had to deal with, and I'm still working on it, is not rushing. I got a lot of praise early on in life by being very quick. People who say, "Oh, Rachel, you're so fast at everything," and they liked it, and so I thought, "Oh, good, I'm fast." But then it became it got out of control, and it became an unhealthy habit to do everything fast. And actually, most things are better when they're not done fast. Like I was saying before, it's the quality of thought and the quality of feeling that I put into it, which can be lost when I do things fast. But also, there's just a different way of experiencing things and allowing other things maybe to happen that I hadn't planned. And there's a lovely story someone once told about. He was asked by his sister to water her garden, and he'd never watered a garden in his life. And so he was given a watering can, and he thought, well, this will be much quicker with a hose. And so he put the hose on full blast. And it was very quick at watering the garden, but of course it completely destroyed the plants. And I think sometimes we can do that. It's like we actually destroy what we're doing by trying to do it in a hurry. And so just to learn to do things with care and with consideration. Somebody had a lovely slogan on their WhatsApp at one point. You have these little slogans under your name, and it was "Slow is the new fast." And so often, actually, yes, like Aesop's fable of the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise actually does come out better at the end. But it also allows, as I say, it allows for other things to happen. If I'm just focused on my plan and my objective, then I'm not being aware of what's going on around me. And I'm just, I'm expecting things to just be as I want them to be. And another very common situation in our lives is this sense of being busy, of being overwhelmed. Somebody once talked about a thicket of priorities. I have so many things that are urgent, so many things that are important. I don't have time. But maybe actually the one thing I do have time for, but I don't give time for, is to step back and consider what are my real priorities. I can't do several things at the same time. But what is it that's really important? What is it? What is the need right now? And what is going to give the most benefit? And I think quite often when we're busy is that we haven't taken that time to decide what the priority is. And the priority might be the relationship and not the task, or the priority might be this task and not that task. The priority might be to express a certain value, whatever it is. What is my priority? And not just to sit down and think about it once, but to remind myself every day, how do I want things to be today? How do I want to feel today? What's my priority in terms of how I do things, how I interact with people? And this is where meditation can help so much. And then I just step back from all the busyness, all the things that I know I have to do, all the new stories, all the things that I'm remembering from the past. I step back from all of that and I go back into that awareness of my inner self, not my face, not my behavior, not my role in life, my job, my family, none of that. Just for a little while, I step back from the awareness of any of that. And I just remember that I am a soul, a spiritual being. And what is it that a soul is? A soul is eternal, outside time, literally, eternal. And when I connect with what is eternal within me, then all the busyness, all the rushing, all the sense of I have so much to do, the volume of it and the pressure of it reduces because I connect with something that's deeper in myself. And from that source of things that deeper comes an ability to deal with things so much better, a capacity, a power that I have inside myself. And what is power? Power is simply the ability to say, I can do this. I can wait for that. I can adapt and change and do things differently. And this capacity to tap into that inner strength, that inner power inside myself, in that awareness of what is eternal within me, enables me to deal much more calmly, with much more clarity, with all the busyness and the chaos and the different emergencies or urgencies that are in front of me. And so in meditation, what we do, we don't stop our minds, we don't force our minds. You have to think that, you mustn't think that, but we gently guide our minds. So just as we want time to be a friend, or to be a friend of time, I want to be a friend of my own mind. I want to take care of my own mind. Because if I'm a friend of myself, if I'm a friend of my mind, then I will automatically be a friend of time. What happens is that there's a bit of a ding dong, a bit of a battle going on in here all the time between my different priorities, between my conscience and my habits, between, many, many different things that are going on inside, which are pulling me this way and the other, maybe my strengths and my weaknesses. So there's this kind of little Mahabharat war, this little war going on inside myself. But if I can start to, bring about appeasement inside my own mind, bring about peace inside my own mind, then it's easier to deal with whatever's going on outside and to come from a position of clarity and strength and confidence. Because so often making decisions is about that confidence, even if it's confidence with the awareness that it might be risky, but it's much easier to decide on a priority or to decide to do something or not to do something when I come from that sense of my own values, my own worth, and what I can offer and what's important to me. So just understanding that time doesn't have to be my enemy. It doesn't have to be a tyrant over me. Time can be something that I walk along with, along the, on my journey in life. Because just think about a friend. You trust a friend. You don't know everything about your friend, but you trust it. And you learn a lot from your friends. And they see, they know what's good for you. Sometimes you don't see yourself, but they know. They understand you. And a friend is someone you want to hang around with. You want to enjoy their company. Why? Because you respect them, because you like them, and you give time to them, and you listen to them. So that's what it is to be a friend, first of all, with your own mind, with your own self. And meditation is about listening to myself, being kind to myself, changing the dialogue within my own head, which is not, I must, I have to, I didn't, I don't. It's not that kind of staccato, that busy, 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 and bossy, bossy, bossy. But no, it's like, okay, so what do we need to do? How did that go? How could I do that better? Learn to have a dialogue, a conversation that with myself that is friendly. I don't know about you, but sometimes you hear about yourself talking to yourself and you wouldn't talk to anyone else like that. And if you did, you wouldn't have many friends. So I have to learn to be that friend with myself, first of all. Because when in meditation, I start to like myself, I respect myself. And why do I respect myself? Not because I'm saying I have to like myself, I have to respect myself, because I am fully not just aware, but I'm experiencing what is eternal, what is true about myself. And that is the eternal qualities of the soul that each and every one of us has, but that we can lose sight of. We get so focused in our story and our mistakes and what we're lacking, what we need, that we forget about what we have, the riches that we have, and the amazing power and the beauty of what's inside all of us. And so in meditation, in Raja Yoga, the meditation we practice, we're just reminding ourselves, because we're a bit forgetful, we remind ourselves again and again, I am a being of peace. I am loving. I am wise. I am happy. I am pure and innocent. There's all of those things are inside me eternally. And so let me focus on those so that I start to have feelings about myself that are positive and constructive and loving and confident. And these feelings of I can't, poor me, not fair, why me, start to reduce. So that's really what we're doing in meditation is we're focusing on what's positive and uplifting and helpful, and we're reducing the volume and reducing the impact of the thoughts that we have been having, which have not been so positive and have actually held us back and harmed us and have created that battle with the external world, whether it's other people or with time or with matter, whatever it is. So, really becoming a friend, yes, with myself, yes, with time, through meditation. And with meditation, what can also really help me is in understanding myself to be eternal, I can then see the world in a much bigger, from a much wider perspective. I see a much bigger picture of the world, which isn't just the physical world that I see with my physical eyes, but I'm aware of the much greater, like the universe. I'm aware of a world beyond this world. I'm a world of the world which has got nothing to do with matter and physical. And of course, this physical world is all about time because it's what becomes new becomes old. Everything, the law of entropy, everything physical starts new and becomes old, and then there's new. So it's constantly changing. So everything physical in our lives is constantly changing, which of course is what creates this sense of uncertainty and wanting to control. But what is eternal is beyond time, is non-physical. And in this awareness of myself as a non-physical being, a point of light, a soul, I can then experience myself through meditation I can take myself out of the awareness of this physical world, and I can be as a soul surrounded by other souls in a world of souls, a world of light. And I could feel that experience of total comfort, total safety, total stillness, surrounded by my family of souls and in the company of the divine, the one soul who is always non-physical, is always 100% peaceful, loving, powerful, wise. And in this awareness and in this relationship, this feeling of closeness that I can have, souls with the Supreme Soul, it's like I fill myself up with power. I fill myself up with a sense of abundance. And coming back then into my life with that sense of power and that sense of abundance, then I don't feel I'm lacking. I don't feel I'm weak. I don't feel I need. And I don't feel that I need to chase after. And, scarcity of time is something that we're very familiar with. But what if I said to myself, I, the eternal soul, have all the time that I need to do what I need and to be who I am. And so in meditation, what I'm doing is I'm training myself. It's like mental maneuvers. I'm rehearsing and I'm training myself, but I'm also empowering myself to come into my everyday life. And it's not that we, hide on a hill or under a tree and I'm going to meditate and just think I'm eternal. No, no, no. But I use that experience of my own eternity. And I use that experience of that sense of total contentment and total stillness and peacefulness to keep me going and to enrich my life as I go about my everyday life at home, at work, in the neighborhood. But I stay aware. There's a little part of me that's always aware of that sense of self. And so that I don't just identify myself with my physical appearance, my body, but I also identify with the spiritual self, that point of energy, that point of consciousness, that point of light that is who I am eternally. I remember, again, a long, long time ago, I must have been a teenager. And on the television, there used to be a program, an exercise program. And it was called, Don't Just Sit There, Do Something. Well, I'd like to suggest the alternative. Don't just do something. Sit there. Let's just give ourselves time throughout the day. Step back from the busyness. Step back from the to-do list. And just give ourselves quality time with myself, for myself, by myself, just to reflect, to let things settle, and to start thinking about, observe my thoughts, see what I'm thinking and where it's going, and observe the speed of my thoughts. And then when I actively, creatively make thoughts for myself that are based on my inner goodness, they're based on those qualities that I talked about, then the thoughts slow down. And I start to come into a natural inner authority that isn't possible when my thoughts are whirring. And so in meditation, Raja Yoga, to become the master of my own mind, but also the ruler, the king. So that having that royalty, whereas I'm ruling over my own mind, a benevolent king, but I'm knowing what's good for me and I'm wanting only what's good for me. And I'm wanting to use my time in a way that will be beneficial. And we had many years ago, I think it was 2006, we launched an initiative called Just a Minute. And we launched it at Wembley Arena. And the whole concept of Just a Minute was if you take 1 minute in an hour, the other 59 will be more useful. They will be more constructive. They will be more beneficial, and they'll be happier. So just 1 minute every hour. And in that minute, so many things can happen. And we've experienced that, I think, all of us, because we do this now around the world, actually, in all the Brahma Kumaris centers. And so often you're in a meeting or you're working on something and you're just not getting anywhere. Or maybe you can't come to an agreement or you can't get the right phrase in that report you're writing. We have this thing, we call it traffic control, controlling the traffic of our mind. So we just stop for a minute when the music comes on every hour. And it's quite extraordinary because after that 1 minute, when we've all gone inside, tapped into that inner goodness and connected with that inner identity, the identity of the soul, and that awareness of the divine. And then we come back after that minute, and it's extraordinary how many times somebody says, how about? And it's partly because we've just relaxed ourselves and we've come back to, we've centered ourselves again, you could say. But it's also some magic, it's the magic that happens when you tap into that inner wisdom, that inner truth. Then that's when the true creativity, the true compassion and understanding of another person's point of view, the willingness to cooperate, all of these come out when we go inside again. And so meditation isn't about avoiding time and running away, but it's actually a wonderful tool to be able to use time in a way that will be beneficial to me and that will be enjoyable to me. So yes, I would really recommend this practice that I say that we call of traffic control. But just a minute, also there's an app called Insight Timer, and you can download it there. But also there's a website and I just think it's a really valuable thing to do. Or actually, I think there's another app called B Zone, B.zone. So not Do Zone, but B Zone, but it's with 2 E's. And that again has various practices. And one of them is a way to just stop every hour and just check what's going on in my mind, what's going on in my thoughts, because thoughts and time are very, very much related. So what's going on in my thoughts? And how do I want to steer my thoughts in a direction that's going to be positive and helpful? And the more we do that, the more confidence we gain in ourselves that we're not being driven by time and we're not trying to drive time, but we are moving along with time. We understand time better. We recognize that sometimes things are happening for a reason, but we respect time. And if we respect time, we don't waste it. We don't take it for granted. We value it just like we would value one of our good friends. And so I hope this has given you some ideas as to how you can create that friendship, give more time to yourself, and yes, make friends with yourself, and through making friends with yourself, make friends with time. I hope that's been helpful, and there's some things that come up for you, and I'd really like to hear your questions or your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That was very, very insightful, I must say. I think I gave you about 40 minutes to share, and it just felt like you've given us 40 hours worth of material to work with.
Oh dear.
I will be so honest with you right now. Right from just giving us that insight into like how slowing down is helpful and just changing that view towards time and wanting to be fast and on the go so much, changing from that to just being where you are, enjoying what you're doing, and just taking it slow. That alone can make such a big difference, right? To who we are as a being, what our original nature is, what kind of a world exists outside of these limitations that are put upon us. And then towards the end, to just you giving us so many helpful tools to work with, like the apps and the timers and things like that. So I won't go into detail about everything that I found helpful, but I know everybody has taken something from what you've shared that they will, treasure and probably apply and benefit from. I'm just going to open the floor for any questions. If you have anything that you want to ask, please feel free to unmute. If you don't want to unmute, you can put it in the chat and I can read it out. And I also have a few questions of my own, but I will wait for the audience to go ahead first.
I think they've gone into deep silence.
They probably have.
And that's good.
They're taking their time with it. We love that. Bhavna Ben?
Actually, I just wanted to say thank you for the wonderful talk. And yeah, just something to like, I'm not sure if that is the correct question, but sometimes you feel that time you are running short of time. Like, even though you have done everything, what you should do and how you should do, but then you still think, oh, yes, still this time is less. Is there any tips you want to give for that?
I think I'm really glad you brought it up. We live in a world that is constantly telling us we're short of time. If you think about it, it's like our devices, the media, everybody is telling us you don't have enough time. And it's a marvelous way to make everybody uncertain so that they buy more. So I think we have to, I think in addition to the meditation, I think we have to just be aware of the impact of things that are coming in from outside and messages from outside. And, the messages will come, but we just have to be just to sit down and say and to check why am I feeling that there is not enough time, just make what that 1 minute, just say, what's this all about? Why am I feeling there's not enough time? And going back to this sense of, I'm more than my body. I think a very strong reason for why we feel short of time is this sense of we die when we no longer exist, when the body is finished. But that's simply not true. And I just know it for a fact. Well, I haven't done it myself. I'm aware of in this birth, but just that awareness that I am an eternal being takes away a huge layer of angst, of terror. People have their bucket lists, things I have to do before I die. But actually, as souls, we never die. And this is just one chapter, and then there will be another and another. But I think mortality is actually has such a huge impact on all of our behavior. And when you come to that spiritual awareness, and not just theory, but the experience of the self as something beyond the physical, which has nothing to do with my body, then that fear reduces, goes away. And you know that actually I'm not going to be extinct at the end of this birth. And that changes my attitude to everything. Otherwise, my identity is with what I am, what I own, what I do, everything that is there, that my house, all of that. And these are fine, they're lovely, but they don't define me. And so when I recognize that I'm a spiritual being in my house, using my car with this face, fine, but it's not who I am. And therefore that frees me from a huge amount of fear. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is it appropriate for me to go and ask a question now?
I think I would.
Okay. I really resonated with Donovan's question about just like feeling like you're short on time and if you feeling like you're running out of time almost. But then when you bring into picture that we are eternal and that pressure does go away. However, bringing it back into the picture a little bit, we are still living this life. We are here, we are present. How do you ensure that while you're slow and you're mindful, you're making the most of every day that is presented to you? And that you're, satisfied at the end of the day, that you've done the best you could with the time that you've had. How do you get to that point of satiation almost? Just, I'm complete.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to say. And actually, just going back on what you were saying, it's not that another reason why we feel that we're so short of time is emphasis on that word feel. So sometimes, it's not actually the lack of time, it's our feeling that we have that we're lacking that time. And that feeling comes from repeated thoughts. So again, what we're doing in meditation is we're just shifting our thoughts. And, it can be just a second that I can change from feeling trapped or feeling pressurized to I'm choosing not to be pressurized by this. So that's something I wanted to add to the previous question. But in terms of your question, it is about my attitude. It is about my attitude to time. And that again is an attitude comes from my repeated thoughts. So, and we have lots of attitudes inside us. Some of them we're not even conscious of. And so what I'm doing in meditation, and it's not that I'm spending all day meditating as such, but it's like I'm aware in my thinking. I'm just checking my thinking all the time. Where is this coming from? And is this just an old belief or something that the media's put into me or, somebody else is telling me? But what is my attitude toward time? And in terms of feeling content myself with my own life, only I know what makes me content. Only I know what my priorities are. And if I'm feeling less than content, it's because in some way I'm not following all my priorities. Now, that's not to say that I can have everything in the world and everything will go exactly as I would like. But when I really know my true priorities, which are based on those qualities of being, what do we do everything for in life? We want peace, we want love, we want happiness, we want wisdom. These are what we do everything for. We work, we play, we go on holiday for peace, for love, for happiness. That's what we want. But when I recognize that I have all of those things inside me, and I just have to tap into them and nurture them and experience them and enjoy them and share them with everybody, then contentment comes much more closely.
Thank you for that. That is very insightful. We still have a few minutes for questions. If we don't have any questions, then I guess maybe you could take us through the meditation that you referred to as a very helpful tool, and we can do a few minutes for that before we close.
Great. So for those of you who are new, I'll just speak out a few words, and I just invite you to just rest your eyes. We meditate with our eyes open. Partly it kind of helps us not going to sleep, but also that idea that, as I was saying, that then we can have this kind of feelings, this awareness when we're going about our daily life. So maybe rest your eyes, maybe on the scene behind me, or somewhere in your room if you like, but just rest your eyes, not force them, just rest them. And it's always good to start by just making your body very comfortably still. So if you're saying to your whole body, you can relax now. So the feet and the legs, the back, the shoulders, just letting go of any tightness, any tension from the day. And special attention to your neck and the back of your head, your eyes, your mouth, your jaw. It's just for a little while you made yourself into a soft statue. You can move a little bit, but basically you're just still. And so that your body isn't demanding any attention from you. And instead you're just going to concentrate not on what you see, not on what your eyes are resting on. It's as if you're going to turn your eyes the other way and you're going to look inside. You're going to turn your inner eye and look inside yourself. And you're going to ask yourself, who am I? And I'm not that face. that I see every day. I'm not my arms and legs. I'm not the many roles I play every day in life. I'm not my history. But I am that eternal being, that spark of life energy. And you can picture it here in the middle of your forehead, just between the eyes. You can't see it. You can only see it with your mind's eye. But there in the driving seat of the body is where I sit. I, the soul, the being of light, the being of peace, the eternal one. And what is also eternal is all the qualities that I have inside me. The peace, the love, the joy, the wisdom, the purity. All of these beautiful qualities I have forever within me. Things will happen with my body. I don't look now what I looked like 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. But I, the soul, am eternal and constant. And so let me remember who I really am, what makes me who I am. And when I remember myself as a soul, then I also remember the Supreme, my beloved parent, my most beautiful friend, my reference point. I, the soul, connect with the divine, with the Supreme Soul, and I feel safe and strong, secure and satisfied. And with those feelings, I come back into the awareness of my physical body and this room, in this gathering, but I hold on to those beautiful feelings and that lovely experience and that quiet authority that I brought into myself and that I can share with the world. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I don't have any words for how beautiful that was. Thank you, everybody, for being here and spending an hour with us this evening. I hope it's been a lovely time well spent.